Hello and welcome to another Mote pop-up PD with myself, John, and I'm here with my colleague, Greg. Greg, how are you this fine Friday?
I'm wonderful. How are you, John?
All right, thank you. Yes, feeling restored after a couple of days away in the tropical island of the Isle of Wight. For those of you that haven't heard of it, it's just off the south coast of England. It is a must. It's one of those places that can only be described as a bucket list destination.
Wow.
So there we go. Greg, you have been dazzling with the amazing quantity and quality of resource, and more importantly, the learning opportunities and the ideas that you have been providing and sharing with us. I think you've got a couple more for us today. What's the first one that you're going to kick off with before I share your screen?
Yeah, the first one is paying homage to my background as a history teacher and a social studies teacher. I always had my students make timelines, often on big, long sheets of paper, sometimes digitally. So we're going to get into how to make audio timelines with Mote in either Google Slides or Google Sheets, 2 templates for you to start using right away.
Fantastic. That sounds awesome, Greg. I'm going to share your screen and then I'll pass over to you. Thank you.
Great. So really straightforward. In Google Slides, I did a nice little mock-up where we have our timeline, blocks for the years, where you can override and customize that with whatever span that you want. And I'm trying to make this to be like really accessible to students immediately. So I even added little kind of like placeholders or templates down below. So if I need an event on the kind of upper half of my timeline, I'll just go down to this element and I'm just doing a copy and paste. And then maybe I need that right here and it drops on. So I can start to build this out. Again, I'll copy and paste this one and drop it here. So we can start to add the content in. Now, the vision for these blocks here is now we take advantage of Mote. So a student could obviously write the name of the event. So we'll do name of event. And this is all customizable. You can change the size. You can modify this any way you want. But here's where I think it gets brilliant. We tap on that little Mote icon, record our voice. So here's the student explaining the significance of event number 1 or making a comparison and connecting this to the next event that's going to take place and kind of like having more depth of understanding inside of a timeline, which sometimes turns into event, date, and sentence about the event. We can get more richer information with audio. So I'll stop that. Wait for this file to process, tap insert, and we'll get that nice little purple audio icon. And then I can resize, modify it. And I'm just going to take this and drop it right into my event. There we go. Now, what we could also do is the sticky Mote strategy. So if you had a website that you wanted to be a part of this as well, you could always use a sticky Mote and then put a link into this. So if the viewer clicked, they'd be brought out to the website and they'd hear your voice in context on that website. So there's the Google Slides version if you're partial to that environment. I also built it out in Google Sheets. It'll look a little bit different when you're done. In Google Sheets, the same thing. I might go, okay, I need another event. So I'm going to highlight my template down below, copy it, and maybe I'll drop that in right here, for example. So there's my new event. I can put the name of it here, put a little description if I want. Now, this is where I think it gets interesting as well, a little bit different. I'll tap on the Mote extension, record my voice up here. So here's my new audio that I'm adding to my Google Sheets audio timeline. We'll just tap done. So there's my file. I always tap here to copy one more time, copy the link. So I can do something like listen here. I'm just going to insert the link to my audio, drop that in. So now if someone hovers over, they get this kind of embedded Mote audio card, so they don't even have to leave. They can have it played right here. So there we have it. 2 ways that you can build. Oops, let me jump back here. 2 ways that you can build audio timelines in Google with Google Sheets or Google Slides.
Unbelievable, Greg. Unbelievable. Would you mind just keeping where you are on that slide deck there? Because I think there's obviously lots of wonderful ideas here. I can see immediately how teachers would use this in their classroom. Is there any way, or is there anywhere that teachers and members of our Mote Teachers group on Facebook would be able to find these resources and maybe maybe explore some of these ideas at their own pace?
Absolutely. So if we head over to the Mote blog, we have an awesome new page, the hub, and all of the ideas that the Mote team has been creating can be found here. And if we just scroll down a little bit, what we're going to add into the Mote blog is audio timelines, along with all the other resources, reading strategy, audio rubrics, audio hyperdocs. So it's blog.justmote.me, and then you can click on the hub and you can get to all of the resources that we've built out for you.
This is great. Yeah, and so as Greg says, we are continuing to add resources to the Learn site, and we have them covering all sorts of disciplines, all sorts of ages of pupil as well. So regardless of whether your students are in elementary school or they're at the top end of high school, or even university students, we are looking to provide as much as possible for all potential educational appetites. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just share my own screen. I'm going to share a short idea here. So let me share my screen, and just temporarily, Greg, I'm going to say cheerio, and I'll bring you back on in just a minute or two. Okay, so this is a way in which using Mote and the power of voice, I just thought could be a simple walkthrough where we can add our voice to a QR code. So this is a Google form. I'm sure we're all familiar with these. Just in case you missed it, you can now add Mote. So you can add voice notes to your Google Forms. So this is me setting one up here. The difference with this form is I am the only person that I plan on sharing it with. And the reason being is as follows. I've got two questions, one for student and one for feedback. So what I would do is something like this. So let's just say that I've come across my next student's piece of work, and that happens to be Greg. I would put his name in here. And rather than typing my feedback in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the Mote icon just to the right-hand side of this dialog box. So here we go. Really well done, Greg. Super impressed by what you just shared about timelines and how we can use voice notes both in Google Slides and in Google Sheets. Can't wait to see how this idea develops. Thanks very much. So I can then listen to my audio back should I wish to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to submit, and I'm going to take you through to how it looks on the Google Sheet. So the Google Sheet, which is where all of the responses goes, looks like this. So I've got my Google Sheet that's taken a little bit of time to load, but now here it is. So I've got my Motes that have come through with the student name, and I've got the link to each of these Motes. If I wanted to, of course, I can listen to these back through from the Google Sheet itself. But I'm going to take it a step further, and I should say that this idea was actually inspired most recently by a conversation I had with one of our ambassadors, Karina, and how she was creating something called shelf talkers to put around, to put on some of the bookshelves in her school's library. So thank you again to Karina for this idea. So this could work. In this case, I'm thinking of maybe you've got your pile of exercise books, you're giving feedback to your students. You might put it on notice boards in the library, wherever it is. So I've got my Motes and the student names here, and I've got an add-on which is called QR code generator. If you're unfamiliar with add-ons in Google Sheets, you just go to add-ons, and super easy to add. You just go to get add-ons. And all I need to do is to highlight the Motes or the links. So it works with any URL and the student names. I would then go to generate. And then what happens, I'm going to jump to one that I made earlier. What happens is you get a Google Doc that looks like this. So what I would be able to do is just as you can see, I have a QR code that is going to take anyone that scans this code. It's going to take them to a link to this particular voice note. It will take them to the landing page where you can listen back to that. And very easy for me to do. I'd be able to chop these out to put them into the student. In this case, as I say, it'd be a piece of student work, but hopefully giving that same audio experience, helping to build connection, make sure that we get that solid understanding of feedback in exercise books, just as we would get through digital exercise books and the like in Google Classroom. I'm going to bring Greg back onto the stream now. Hi, Greg. What do you think of that then, Greg?
I love the idea. And as you were talking through it, I was already thinking of like all these different permutations of it, of even having like a dedicated Chromebook in the classroom where when a student is ready, they can go up to it and just drop their name in and do their reflection of the day or reflection of the week. So it can be teacher generated or student generated. That idea, what do they call shelf talkers?
That was right. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
shelf talkers idea is brilliant because then they can go into the book or onto the end of the display, and then it's the kids kind of generating the ideas, which is just fantastic.
Exactly, exactly. So just like we mentioned before, I will be creating a little blog, mini video, and I'll be sharing a template as well of how you might like to use that in your classroom. I'm sure we'll see lots of creative ideas there. Right, so Greg, I'm going to share your screen again, and really excited to see and hear your next idea.
Yeah, let's do it. So, again, leaning on a little bit of an ode to being a former history teacher, you know, it's so common for teachers to use YouTube video as a component of their class. If you just kind of have the student land on the link, they have to start watching without much context. But now with sticky motes, you can give them some context before they start watching on their own. So the first thing we'll do is actually, I'll do a little trick with the YouTube URL. What you can do between the T and the U in the actual URL, I'm going to drop a dash there and then just hit return. And notice it just modifies the experience immediately to be a full screen without any suggested videos or nothing else on the screen. So that's kind of like YouTube hack number one. But now we're going to layer this with teacher audio. So the way that I'll do that is, again, go to the Mote Chrome extension. We get our little drop-down menu, and now I can start recording to prepare my students for any insight or context or things that I want them to think about or focus on or pay attention to when they're watching this. So here we go. So welcome to your World War II video brought to you by John Green and our friends at the Crash Course crew. So while you're watching, here's 3 really important things that I want you to keep in mind. Here's the resource you should have out, maybe the page in their notebook or anything you want to tell them to prepare for this experience. When you're done making your audio file, you're done recording, I'll just simply hit done. Now, to get to my sticky mote component, what I'm going to do is go down to activity and engagement down here. It will redirect me to my activity page in my Mote account. And here's the sticky mote that I just created. Now, if you're a Google Classroom user, simply click here and you can cross-post that immediately to Google Classroom. If you're not, here's your landing page. What I like to do here, if I want to not post to Classroom but have the link, I will right-click where it says landing page and then just copy the link address. Now I can put that anywhere I want. What I'll do is just open that so you can see what it looks like. So here we go. We're being redirected. And here we are on our full screen World War II YouTube video. But notice what's up in the corner, the teacher's sticky mote that the student can now be directed with a little bit of guidance and awareness to click to listen. So welcome to your World War II video there we go. So a more intimate experience, creating better connections with students, and also increasing accessibility. Here's the transcript. So now students can hear you and see the text of what you said, so they can be better prepared to watch this video.
That is another fantastic idea, Greg. I love that, and I think that it works. You know, you've obviously used that as a specific example from a subject that you used to teach, but I think that would add so much for so many teachers and for so many students as well. And that's a great example of how one might like to use sticky motes too. For those of you that haven't seen sticky motes before, Greg, if you just tap on that cross as well, so on the cross of the pop-up there, just in case it was missed. So yeah, so when you click on that, what's going to happen is you then get this tab on the right-hand side. So if for whatever reason you wanted to close the window down just to be able to view, in this case it's a video, but you wanted to explore a website or a web resource, then being able to use a sticky mote to close it and reopen it is a really great way of doing that. Thank you, Greg. So there haven't been too many comments flooding in, but I'm sure that one of the, that often what happens with these pop-up PDs is we get comments that people post subsequently when they watch it, at a later time and date. If you do have any questions, please feel free to tag either myself or Greg in, and we would be more than happy to respond to any of those as quickly as we can. And also, if you see that there's a comment that someone else has left, anything that you'd be able to help them, then please feel free to do just that. But in terms of today, I think that's all we were going to share, Greg. Yeah? Yeah,
that does it. 3 helpful ideas to get you heading into your weekend.
Exactly. What better way to start your weekend early than with 3 motivational mote ideas? So, all right then. Until the next pop-up PD, thank you ever so much, Greg, and thank you to everyone for joining us. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.